Today I'm going to share some tips to better position yourself on the swell when downwinding. Let's go. Thanks so much for joining us. Today we are going to talk about how to position yourself on the swell when you are downwinding to have the maximum success. It is a tricky topic because every location is a bit different, but there are a few rules that would apply to any situation, and I think they will help you. So let's start with rule number one: stay on top of the bump. This is a rule that applies to surfing, to riding waves with a foil. The more energy is always on the bump. So you want to stay on top of it. You have to match the speed of the swell. Either when you go straight, you can match it, or if you are a bit faster, you go sideways, but you have to stay right there. This is very essential to get the most energy for the longest time. Which leads us to rule number two: don't run down the bump, the swell, unless you are really going to do a sharp bottom turn at the bottom to reposition yourself on top of the bump, or you are going to outrun the bump to go in front and catch the one in front of you. But this is something that I see often, is you are on top of the bump, you just run down the bump, you find yourself at the bottom, and if you don't do anything right there, you're going to slow down, and then that bump is going to catch you and you're not going to be able to keep up with it. So you have to match the speed of the swell. You can't run down unless you have a plan. So often, I would say when you get started, try not to outrun the bump. So we talked about rule number one: stay on top of the bump. Rule number two: don't outrun it. Rule number three: if you fall off the back, don't keep chasing it, because if you are pumping toward it, you are essentially staying uphill for longer. If you know you are like falling off the back, you really need to make a sharp turn in a way that like you are essentially now almost pumping downhill, because you are going away from that bump that you couldn't keep up with, to go toward the next one. Especially when you have large swell that is very like long period swell, and if you find yourself pumping behind it, you are going to stay uphill for a long time, and that might just crush your speed. It might be game over. So if you know you are starting to fall back, you really have to make a sharp turn, almost toward the wind. It depends. Often the swell has an angle, which now if you go against the swell, it's not necessarily straight toward the wind, but it's more like a 90-degree toward the wind. But that is allowing you to get to the bump behind as soon as possible, not delaying it by just trying to keep up with the one that you just lost. So give it up, make a sharp turn, run toward the next one, and then you're going to do a sharp turn to turn with it again. The key is really to keep up speed. If you spend too long chasing it, pumping uphill, you're going to run out of speed, and when you make that turn, now you have no more speed. When you get to that one behind, you have no more speed, so you're not going to be able to get on it. Make that sharp turn early, so you come down that bump that you missed, you pump toward the one that is behind, and you make a sharp turn. Because you have speed, you're going to be able to accelerate again and get on that one. And then my last rule, which is universal to foiling: stay high on the mast. That one is always tricky because there is a fine line between staying high on the mast and breaching, but there is a huge gain in efficiency if you can stay high on the mast. It depends on the mast height that you use. I prefer shorter mast, usually 75. That's my sweet spot. A lot of people ride 80. I think riding taller than 80 is a bit too much. So as long as you can stay between 75 and 80, to me is ideal. But to stay up high on the mast, often I will, if I find myself kind of like coming down, I will do a pump, couple pumps to kind of like hop back up and be high on the mast. Right away, I'm going to feel that efficiency. I'm going to feel like I can now relax and then ride a small wind chop that's going to give me enough energy. If you are too deep, you're not going to feel that wind chop. you are gonna need that bigger swell, and that's harder to ride. So just make sure you stay high on the mast. Every time you pump, try to have the intention of doing that hop, going weightless, going back up high on the mast. That is key. And now let's head to the water. I'm gonna apply all of this live and see how it goes. Today I have my 8.4 by 17 Blackburn, 105 liters. I have the 900 Enduro, and we're gonna get going. And the goal is gonna be to focus on the reading, which means I'm gonna try to not pump if I don't have to. So I just need to get into a bump, and then once I'm riding, I'm gonna try to minimize the pumping and maximize the glide. So I only pump when I have to. So there's a good bump here. There's not much wind today, but there is some swell. So if I stay on it, if I position myself right, I should not have to pump too much. Just gotta pay attention. Sometimes there is a bit of a mess, so I get away from it and find another one. There is a bit of like a mix between ground swell and wind chop. So the ground swell is always moving a bit faster. I'm trying to stay with it right now. And when I can't stay with it, I kind of like turn out and then try to get a wind chop. What I'm thinking also is like to be efficient. Here I need to pump out, otherwise I'm going to be too long uphill. Boom, back in the right direction. What I'm also thinking is trying to be high on the mast. I won't be able to make this bump, so I'm going to be out and then turn again. When you can make a bump, you don't want to keep chasing it. You really want to turn away from it so that you are not pumping uphill with it. So for example, I'm not gonna make it. I kind of like go against it, and now I go back with it and see if I can get on it. Boom, I'm on it now. So it's kind of like this game of finding the bump, turn with it. For example, here I won't make this one, so I'm gonna let it pass, turn again. Now I'm on the one from behind. So, and then sometimes I just do like just a quick small pump to get back up high on the mast. That's something I'm like always thinking. Of course you don't want to breach, but so here I have no more bumps. I see one here, and now I'm going to turn with it. Always thinking of staying high on mast. If I stay high on the mast, I'm going to be so much more efficient. Here I'm going to turn, now turn with it, and I'm catching this one. It depends on like, of course, the speed of your foil. Sometimes the bumps are moving too fast, and so it's always a game of riding it as long as you can and then turning away from it. Now we're going to try to pick up some speed and ride this one for a bit. Boom. Always trying to be aware, look both ways, because sometimes we get locked into one way. So I need to make sure I'm exploring the other way as well. But here is we got a nice section here, so didn't have to pump too much. Boom. Here is a nice bump. We're gonna get some speed, and I'm looking left. Today the bumps are like slightly bringing me back to the beach, so I need to make sure I just don't go always with them, otherwise I'm gonna end up too close. So while riding the bumps, I'm also trying to make my way away from the beach. Getting back up high on the mast, and I feel like I'm about running out of option here, so I'm gonna turn away from it, try to get, you know, up on the mast. Boom. So especially as you get slower, you don't want to just do a small turn and then be uphill for a long time. You want to sharp turn, get away from it, chase the one behind, like literally like almost pointing toward it, especially with this swell direction. So for example, I have one here, but if I can't make it, I'm gonna pump away, let it go, and I'll turn with it. Boom. Now I can ride this one. So that's the key, is not to spend much time uphill. If I can't make it, like maybe this one I can drop down on it. I was able to go in front of it, but let's say this one, if I couldn't go on it, I turn away and then I turn with it. Boom, now I'm back on. Don't spend too much time chasing it. You're gonna burn yourself up, and you know you wanna be efficient at pumping, of course, but the pumping is a tool you can use, not necessarily something you want to use all the time. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I always do this drill of like the least pumping possible and really learning the bumps, learning what the bumps are doing and how to be as efficient as possible. When it's really cranking, of course I want to go fast. I'm going to do more pumping. I'm going to work harder because trying to really stay with the bump or punch through. But on days where it's like kind of light, it's a pretty fun game of least pumping possible and see how long you can go without pumping. So I hope you guys learned something in this video. Get out there, practice, drop your comment if you have some tips. I don't think about everything when I'm riding. I'm also focused on trying to stay on the bumps. But get out there and have fun. It's not easy, but you can do it. All right, see you guys. Woo! So that's it. I hope that this was helpful for you. If I missed anything, if you have tips that you want to share, please make sure you comment below. We are a community. The goal is to help. I don't have all the answers, but all together we probably have all the answers. So let's share our knowledge so that we can all get out there and have fun. Downwinding is such a hard journey, but it's so rewarding. It's so addicting. That's why we do it, and we want to really help each other so that we can have the most success and the most fun possible. All of the gear that I use today is available at wingfoilprocenter.com. If you find values in our videos, don't hesitate to support us through the shop. Thank you so much for watching. Get out there, and we'll see you guys next week.